All right. Good morning, everyone. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to the next Tafisa Mission 2030 webinar, where we are going to be discussing recruiting and retaining more girls in sports, the role of coaches. We are going to be joined by experts. We are going to be joined by people who are on the ground working with coaches, working with young girls to share their stories, to share their experience, and also for all of us to learn the best practices in terms of how we can best recruit girls and retain the ones that we already have in sport so that we can be able to achieve gender equality and equity that we talk about in sport. To kickstart the session, we will have Impact, which is titled Creating Positive Environment for Girls in Sport by Mariette Brethouwer from Nike, who is the Director of Social Impact and Community Impact in EMEA, and she's based in Netherlands. Mariette will join us through a recorded video. May we have the video now?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So great to be here with all of you today. My name is Mariëtte Brethouwer. I am the Future of Youth Sport Director at Nike. I do that for EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and I'm based in the Netherlands at Nike's office. And I'm here to give a short introduction today about the work that Nike does to powering the future of youth sport. As you can see on all these beautiful images here, with the right network of partners that we do that work with. Let's start with a short video to kick us off.
Dreams start with the love of the game. But you're not born with the love. You learn it. Through teamwork, through hard work, and through people who teach you how to honor that love.
That's light work.
Nah, you're not serious, man.
Behind every dream is someone who always shows up, who believes in the person behind the jersey.
This man right there is the best coach I ever had in my life. I wouldn't trade him for the world.
And who knows that you can win the game, but still lose the player. Dreams don't happen on their own. They take a love of the game and a coach who believes.
Yeah, I thought I'd choose that video because of the power of coaching and the role of, the importance that a coach plays in a kid's life. And that's what we're talking about, of course, today. So for those of you who don't know Nike's work in this space, our purpose is to move the world forward through the power of sport. And for us, it's really important that Nike plays an active role in powering that future of youth sport and making sure that we are getting ready to what that future should look like. So our mission is to create the future of sport. And that sounds big, right? That sounds kind of really far in advance. But we truly believe that that mission starts already today. And actually for us started already years ago. Nike's been committed to girls and especially kids for a decade already. And within our work, within the future of youth sport, we stand for the opportunity for all kids to be active. But of course, like everyone else, we have to choose our focus. And for us, that is girls, and especially girls 7 to 17 years old, and coaches, and making sure that we have a diverse range of coaches around the world that are there to be representative for the kids that they work with, and that they can be someone that children can see themselves in. So for us, we focus on girls and coaches specifically. Within that, we've set our strategic goals. Goals are important, as we all know, to make what you want to do measurable, to be able to track your impact over time, and to be able to stand for something unique within the work that you do. And for us, we've defined our strategic goals around access and experience. And what we mean by that is access is the opportunity to play, making sure that you get that invitation, that you have that kind of open door to get to the opportunity to play sport. And that is how we focus on increasing participation. When I say we, I of course mean the fantastic community organizations and partners that we work with, like Tafisa. And then second is experience. So experience is around making sure that whatever the person is delivering on the pitch, so if it's a teacher or a coach or a parent, that is a positive experience. And within that, we're really looking at things like team building and making sure that kids have a safe and welcoming environment to play. But it's also about things like understanding puberty, for example, and development for girls. For that, we're also looking at that experience being delivered by someone that looks like you and that can identify with you. And that's why we specifically also stand for increasing the number of trained female youth coaches to improve that experience overall. Then I think most of you are aware of this, but I did want to call out a couple of the barriers for girls that we are trying to address directly through the work that we do. First of all, I think we continue to see a lack of accessible girls-only spaces, specifically at a young age. If you look at traditional sports, it's very common to have young kids, so boys and girls of any gender, play together up until the age of 12. And what we're learning is that actually sometimes girls already at a younger age prefer to have girls-only offering. And that's sometimes still quite rare. Gender stereotypes fueled by family, peers, and media continues to be a barrier for girls. And actually, whether you're 7 or 17, a lot of these gender stereotypes continue to exist. And then limited visibility of female role models. This comes back to the fact that we need more of those female leaders in positions of coaching, of program management, of sport organizations overall. How do we make sure that she can see herself in the way that that person is leading the experience? And then lastly, a lack of female coaches or girls-oriented coaching. And this is really about the fact that the vast majority of coaches are male, and we need to recognize that that's still the case. So if we know that, and we know that they are primarily still male, how do we make sure that we also make sure that those male coaches understand the experience for a girl and how that might be slightly different than for a boy? Then if we zoom in at women in coaching specifically, a topic that we care deeply about and that a lot of our work is driving, is that we hear from so many female coaches that coaching is not perceived as a space for her. And if you think about it, this makes sense, right? If we don't see girls in sports spaces, then them growing through that space to become a coach is more limited as well. There is a lot of fear of failing and lack of confidence. We've heard it constantly from the coaches, like you see here on the picture, like that idea of like, am I good enough? Do I know how to teach football? Do I know how to explain basketball? But also like, am I going to be taken seriously as a coach? That translates, of course, in lack of training opportunities. So I have a slide later on showing the amount of licenses that's being given to coaches for girls. Like, how do we make sure that those training opportunities are tailored to her, maybe part-time, maybe to do in the evening next to your side job, and that you can actually take those training opportunities? And then lastly, making sure that we have a chance to build a community so that there is a space for her that she can come together with like-minded individuals and exchange on those learnings, but also on those lack of confidence and fear of failing. So we have that community cohort, like a lot of the work that Tafisa is doing. And this is what I mentioned around the coaching qualifications not being issued as much to women. So if you look at the data, and that's what I want to call out in general, like we need to keep grounded in data. It's extremely important that we prove that women coaches qualifications are staying behind with men. And that's something we need to change, right? Only 12% of coach qualifications was issued to women in 23-24. So what if we changed her experience? What if we focused on coach recruitment and coach training to really change that experience for all the girls that we serve? Her first step into coaching is the hardest, and you might notice from the work that you do with your communities, making sure that someone is interested in taking their first steps into coaching is key. Being part of that community in which you're encouraged and maybe challenged in the right way to try your first hand at coaching is what's going to help increase that investment in female coaches. And then secondly, coach training. We all believe that coach training is essential. You don't need to be a professional football player to teach football, but you need to have some training as a coach to provide that positive experience, that safe experience to girls. So how do we ensure that girls feel seen and heard, especially during those teen years? If you think about all the changes that she's going through, and often they play out on the field and on the pitch as well, right? It's not that you can just leave those things at home. So how do we ensure that we incorporate that into coach training? And I want to give you some examples of relevant work that we've been doing in this space. So last year, exactly 1 year ago, we launched a program called Body Confidence Sport. It's one of the examples of the coach training programs that we've designed in partnership with our global partner organizations. So Body Confidence Sport is kind of, I guess, a platform that brings together a lot of these developmental opportunities and challenges that girls go through that are important for a coach to understand, whether you're male, female, of any gender coach. Think, how do you understand what body confidence means for that girl as she's going through her development? It's a very concrete idea of how we can provide coach training and how we can make that experience for girls better.
Hi there, welcome to our global community committed to creating body confident athletes, coaches and sport environments. I'm Dr. Emily Matheson from the Centre for Appearance Research, and I specialise in body image and sport, as well as creating global youth development programs. But more importantly, I'm an athlete who has experienced the countless benefits of playing a sport that I love, as well as feeling part of something greater than myself. 20 years of research consistently shows that young people who identify as girls drop out of sport because they're worried about how they look when taking part. These worries stem from societal pressures that suggest girls should look and act a certain way when they're playing sport. That is, they should be tall, thin, have just the right amount of muscle, as well as play sports that are viewed as traditionally feminine, such as dance, gymnastics, or volleyball. But the reality is, every body and every type of body can be an athlete. Body Confident Sport is a global initiative that aims to stop girls dropping out of sport because of body image concerns. It includes 2 programs, Body Confident Coaching and Body Confident Athletes. These 2 programs were designed collaboratively between girls and coaches with leading experts and brands in body image and sport. They're also informed by the latest scientific research, as well as tested and proven to work. Body Confident Coaching is a web-based self-guided program that provides coaches with the knowledge and skills to create positive body environments for their athletes. Meanwhile, Body Confident Athletes is an in-person, coach-led program that provides girls with the knowledge and skills to feel body confident when playing the sport that they love. And now you're part of this global community, and together we are going to help girls thrive in sport and beyond.
One of the reasons why I love calling out this program is because it's a real investment in our coaches. And it means that, if we're thinking about recruiting and we're training coaches, how do we also invest in their development, right? And that's what this tool does really well. So Body Confident Coaching, like you heard in the video, is a training program for coaches consisting of 3 online modules, can all be taken in about 25 minutes each. That are really truly upskilling our coaches. We have them available in all of these languages. They can be done at any place behind your computer in your own time, so they're flexible, and they give you a certificate at the end. And that's one of the reasons why we continue to promote this resource as a way to upskill coaches, that we don't just invest in our own coaching workforce, but by that also make the experiences for the girls much better. So that was just a whirlwind overview of some of the work that Nike is doing in this space to both recruit and retain coaches in sport. I hope you have found it informative. I know you're going to have a great panel coming up and program for the rest of the webinar, but pleased to have shared this with you. And I want to thank you all for the work that you're doing in your community.
Thank you, Mariette, and definitely thank you for setting the tone for our webinar today. I like that she posed a question to all of us, that how do we change the girls' experience in sport? And this question actually is the base of the discussion today. We wish to hear from the panelists, but we also need to hear from the all the participants. Feel free to answer this question on your chat. How do we change the girls' experience in sport? Because we are here to learn from the panelists, but we are also here to learn from you because you are already on the ground doing the work, and we believe that the work that you are doing is amazing, and we can learn a lot from you. So feel free to engage on the chat to network with one another and also to share the best experiences because one thing that is good about this, we come from all the continents. So far, I've seen all the continents represented here. That means that we can learn a lot from different people with different perspectives. Now we will go into the first pause in terms of interactive break, where we are going to be answering the questions on Mentimeter. There's a link of how to join the Mentimeter on the chat. Feel free to click on that link and also to even click on that code, and then we can get on it. And there's the code and there is the link, and let's get on it, and then we can get all the answers from all of you. Are we ready? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's keep on clicking on that QR code and join the Mentimeter. The QR code is there on the chat and the link is there on the chart. You can't seem to find the link, please. Let's keep on resharing that link because there are so many messages that are coming on the chat, people introducing themselves. So maybe the chat, the link is also, yeah, let's keep on sharing it so that people can have access to it. Oh, you are ready. Thank you so much. We can now move to the questions in 30 seconds after most of you are ready to share. All right, the first question is, what challenges do you face when trying to recruit girls into sports programs? Feel free to share any challenge from your area, from your programs, and your experiences. What challenges do you face when you try to recruit girls into sports programs? Okay, we have cultural difference, mentality, gender stereotype around sport, personal motivation, gender roles and norms, male-dominated environment, access, time, lack of confidence, finding them available. Girls are not available yet. We can discuss why are they not available. The lack of interest to be part of sport, the lack of role models. My sport is traditionally dominated by boys, men, so breaking the stereotype is difficult. Transport challenge. There's so many reasons. Lack of confidence, motivation, lack of confidence. They don't have interest in sport. The cultural issue, lack of commitment, environment. Traditional sports. Tradition says sport is for boys. Body image issues, safe access. So we have a lot of answers there. Most of them are very much relatable to a lot of us here. Sports kit, cultural history. Yes, school education, fear of being muscular. All right, thank you. And low confidence, motivation. Most girls lack self-confidence. Yes. Okay. Shyness, cultural taboos, geographical barrier, availability of transport and place to stay. Yeah, because mostly sports is found in cities. Male dominance, safeguarding in sports is limited. Religious limitations, inconsistency, lack of interest. Yep. All right, we have 180 responses. You can keep them coming in, and you can also continue the discussion on the chat as we answer the question in terms of what challenges we face when we try to recruit girls. Yes, the societal and cultural stifle girls' participation in sport. Yeah. All right. The next question, please. Okay, the next question is, what do you think is most effective for coaches in creating a positive and safe sports environment for girls? Is it encouraging respect, building trust? Is it providing role models? Is it promoting body positivity? Are you not sure of what is the most effective for coaches? Is it emphasizing growth over competition, or is it encouraging peer support? What is the most effective for coaches in creating a positive and safe environment for girls? Most of the answers are in building trust, providing positive role models, encouraging respect, emphasizing growth over competition, encouraging support, and also promoting positivity. Thank you for your answers. Let's keep on bringing the answers on. If you are not sure of what could be most effective, chances are you'll learn more today as we discuss. So don't despair. We are here to discuss and share information with you and also learn from you as well. Oh, the person took away the answer from not sure. Okay. All right, thank you so much. Next question. You need to continue the discussion on your chat, please. How often do you use female coaches as role models in your sports program for girls? Do you ever use female coaches as your role models in a sports program, or do you always use female coaches as role models, or do you even have those female coaches in your sport? Do you have full-time female coaches? Good. You always use female coaches as role models? Good. You have lack of support from your NOC? Sorry about that. NOCs are also here. They will get that feedback. You use female who excelled in sports as role models. That's a good one. You are a female coach in a club. Thank you. We have female coaches that work with girls. Thank you. We have 19% of female coaches. They work 2 days. Okay. Not often because of responsibilities of at home for women. Yes, definitely the gender roles play a part here. We use female athletes. We invite female athletes to become coaches. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Not always, yes, because of the challenges we have. Yes. We have female coaches who work with both female and male coaches. Male team, sorry, yes, thank you. Not as always, because there are no role models. It's a pity. You are the only female coach in your region. So you are 100% female-led organization. Thank you. Not always. All right. Thank you so much for your answers. Please, let's continue the discussion on the chat to understand if you have role models, why you don't have female role models, and learn from others who are now inviting female athletes to become coaches. That is one of the strategies that are good. All right, now we'll move to the panel discussion. I'm not going to introduce the panelists. I'll prefer them to introduce themselves and also to help me say their names correctly in case I murder the names. Mine is always murdered. I know people call me Gail, but I'm Khame Mutibi. And I've actually accepted to be called Gail because I work for sports. People believe that because I work for sports, that's why my mother gave me the name Gail. I don't know. But otherwise, we'll invite Ruth Brazier. I hope I got it right. From iCoachKids, I met with Ruth at the Nike Summit in Paris. Yes, and then we have Marielle. Marielle will have to say your surname correctly for me. Schweickart. You will correct me from, she's Lean Director from WomenWin. And we also have Lisa Solmirano from UN Women Argentina. Welcome to the panel. We are happy to have you discuss with us today the topic, how we can recruit young girls and how can we retain the ones that we already have. You're already working with young girls. You have the experience. We are working on the policies of that are helping us to achieve gender equality. So we'll be happy for you to share with us in terms of your experience in the work that you are doing. I'll now invite all of you ask you the same questions and feel free to chip in when you have anything, because we need to be free and we need to be relaxed in this webinar, because in that way we can be able to learn a lot from one another. But before I go on to asking very serious questions, I just have this question for you and for people, for the participants. What is the most ridiculous thing you've ever been told about girls and women participating in sport? Ruth, what is that thing that has been weird that you heard about girls and women participating in sport?
Yeah, really good question. First of all, thanks very much for inviting me to speak on this. When I think about this question, the thing that pops to mind isn't, it's a story from when I was a younger coach, so I was kind of in my early 20s. My sport is football, so a very male-dominated environment. I was the only female coach kind of working for my company, and I used to go into schools. And in England, where I'm based, the youngest age of the kids at school is kind of 4 and 5. So I went into this lesson, and I remember kind of going in, every participant is a boy, and one of the boys kind of looks me up and down and goes, "Where's our football coach?" And I was like, "I'm literally here, I'm your football coach." And he kind of looks me up and down again with such confidence for a 5-year-old as they have, and says, "Oh, but women don't coach football." And obviously he's a 5-year-old kid, so it's not, malicious in any way, shape or form. But that's always stuck with me, because it just struck me as so ridiculous that this 5-year-old boy doesn't even know the differences between boys and girls, men and women, doesn't know the differences, but knows so confidently that women should not and do not coach football, like he's never seen a woman coaching. So that kind of always stuck with me in terms of a story that I have about just, again, the ridiculous nature of this idea around what men can do and what women can do and what they can't do. So yeah, that's one that always sticks with me. Bless him.
Yeah, and trust me, those 5-year-olds have a lot of confidence that we can't even do anything about here. Yeah. I can imagine you, 5-year-old, saying you to that you don't even know how to get to respond to that at first. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all I could do was go, and I did a few kick-ups, and he was impressed, and it was fine in the end. But yeah, it was just a bit of as a young coach as well, it was quite what do I say to this? What do I do? Sort of thing. I wasn't kind of too sure of how to go about, apart from just go and coach the session and see what happens. But
yeah, we'll just like to know about a little bit about you, Ruth, before we go to Marielle.
Yeah, so my name's Ruth Brazier. You got my name spot on, so absolutely fine. I do projects and research for iCoachKids, which is a global movement based on educating the coaching workforce about making sport more accessible and more inclusive for all children, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, and also regardless of ability. So making sport more inclusive for young people. And again, particularly for today, I lead a project called iCoachGirls, which I'll give you a little bit more information about as we go through the webinar.
Thank you. Great to hear from you. And Marielle, introduce yourself, please, and also answer the question, what is the most ridiculous thing that people have told you about girls and women in sport? And please, in the participants, answer the question in the chat as well. We'd like to hear your experiences as well. Marielle, to you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you all. I think there are some familiar faces I see in the participant list. So hello, everyone. I'm Marielle Schweickart is how you say my surname. I am from WomenWin, which is a global multidimensional women's fund with the vision of every girl and woman achieving their rights. So this is really some of our foundational work is in girls and women's sport. So I'm excited to share sort of what we've learned, some of our research coming up. But my role, I will say, before I answer your question, is to oversee our research, our monitoring, evaluation, and learning, and our knowledge management internal to WomenWin. So I hope I can share some of that exciting knowledge and learning here today. I think I'll keep it short and simple to answer your question, which is that we hear a lot that girls don't like competition and that they aren't competitive. And I think that it just shows, these stereotypes which are so deep-seated, but as someone myself in our organization, we just see that is different on the pitch. And in their lives, we see that stereotype being misinformed. So I think we can all, probably those that are on the call, sort of hear that voice, hear that also coming from your own experience. But thanks, I'll pass it back.
Yeah, thank you. Lisa, may you introduce yourself and also answer the question, what is the most ridiculous thing that people have said about girls and women joining sport?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to share this panel with you, with all these people. I'm Lisa Solmirano from Argentina. I work in UN Women since 2019, coordinating projects to promote gender equality in and through sports. In my past years, I've been involved in organizations working with sports as a tool to social inclusion for young people. So I could say about the most ridiculous thing. I don't think there are ridiculous questions sometimes. At least in my experience, I think every time is an opportunity to educate about gender equality, about the need to include gender perspective. It was in the last March, the month of International Women Day. I was invited to participate in a international kind of congress that was hosted by one of the biggest football clubs in Argentina, which is River Plate. And it was interesting because I was invited to a panel to talk about gender equality in sports. And I was the only female participant to talk about that. And the rest of the panelists were male, which is a part of the things that we need to highlight about the need to include more women to talk about and to discuss about gender equality and gender inclusion and how to retain and include more girls. I think sometimes we lack of the chance to discuss not programs for girls or to targeting girls, but gender perspective sports programs, which is very different, and it's part of the first presentation about how to address barriers that girls face to participate in sports activities and to continue in these careers. So it was interesting to have this kind of environments where we are trying to discuss about what we need, but not women, not girls are part of the discussions. So I think this is something that we need to change.
Yeah, thank you so much. But maybe I can start with you, Lisa, to go into it in terms of what actions are you or UN Women or any other organization that you work with taking to support programs and interventions that are focused on retaining more girls in sport. What are you doing, and what is it that we can learn from your best practices or from the work that you are doing in terms of supporting the interventions and programs that are focused on retaining girls in sport?
Yes, I think as UN Women is not an implementing organization on this kind of projects or programs. Of course, our main objective is to promote policies and to promote discussions, campaigning, and to raise awareness about the need to include gender perspective in programs. But we had the chance to work jointly with the International Olympic Committee since 2019 here. But I know the International Olympic Committee have been implementing programs in Brazil as well and in other and in other countries. And one of our experiences together with WomenWin as well here in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, was the One Win leads to another program, which was a very richful experience on lessons learned about how to include and retain girls. And I think the best practices on this retaining girls was on one side providing economic support for the girls. There is one of the barriers they face to attend to the projects if they have to move to the transportation, and if there are no safe environments to go to the places. Providing some economic support is very important, of course, also for the families if they are facing lack of support from the families because it's expensive or they have to invest in the participation of the girls. Is one of the things we need to address in the programs. Yeah. The other thing is that it was the provision of menstrual products for the girls. This is menstruation is one of the barriers, particularly in low-income families and low-income girls. This is something that should be addressed because it can be one of the issues they have to in the participation. The creation of safe and emotional spaces is one of the keys. It was a learning with WomenWin, but also with the IOC. Some girls, it's not only to create safe spaces in terms of safeguarding policies and code of conduct, but also how to create an environment. As soon as you create this, you build this confidence, girls can feel open to bring situations that they are facing in other places, school, families, and you have to be prepared to address these kind of things, and then to provide protocols for the girls and to provide an active hearing of the problems, and and also building community and institutional networks. They need to know what is happening at the community level, which resources you have. Not only at sports, but also schools and some other institutions that can support the participation and the retaining of girls in sport activities. And for sure, the campaigning activities, the creation of knowledge, the monitoring and evaluation is part of the inputs you need to planning and to create programs that supports the retaining of girls.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think definitely that you can have safeguarding policies, but if you're not implementing it, then you won't be able to create those environments that is safe and positive for girls to partake in sport. So the most important thing is how do you create that environment for girls to remain in sport and to join sport. Thank you for that. Ruth, you talked about iCoachGirls that you are willing to share with us, and also in terms of whatever that iCoachKids is doing to focus on retaining more girls in sport.
Yeah. So the main thing that I want to talk about today is the iCoachGirls project, which is a project that I lead on. I think to kind of try and explain it in 2-3 minutes might be quite difficult, but I'll do my best. I think it's really important to acknowledge that we work with a range of partners across Europe to deliver the programme, and I know some of them are on this call today. So we work with Sport Ireland, Special Olympics, the Lithuanian Sport University, the Dutch Olympic Committee, Hungarian Coaches Association, and FIBA. And they're our partners in terms of delivery on the ground. So iCoachGirls has two kind of dual aims. So the first one, again, on point for this call, is to get more primary school age girls, so girls aged 5 to 11, 5 to 12, depending on what country you're in, more active. So particularly targeting girls who have either tried sport and dropped out or have never tried it before. So we're really targeting that group who really don't do anything at the minute to try and get them more active. And the second aim is to get more women involved in coaching. And the way that we're trying to do this is by delivering what we're calling play centres. So each partner delivers at least 5 play centres in their kind of location, in their context. And the key thing is that the way that they deliver this is very flexible. So we haven't kind of created a manual that says this is how you run a play centre. The ethos is actually it's about the voice of the girl and the voice of the child. We know that traditional sport probably doesn't work for these girls because they are the type that have maybe tried it and dropped out, or have looked at the traditional competitive kind of types of sport and have said that's not for me. That's great for some girls, but for this group of girls that might not be right for them. So the play centres kind of centre around the voice of the child, so understanding what do they want to do, how do they want to engage in activity, what kind of games do they want to do, what sports do they want to try, and then facilitating that for them rather than being kind of adult-centric and coach-led. And so it leads to kind of a real non-traditional, I'm going to use the word sport, but it's actually more physical activity and movement that we can offer the girls. And the idea is to get them active, to grow a love of being active that they can then go on and take throughout their life. And then the other aspect of it is getting more women into coaching. So again, each play centre, we're trying to recruit 2 kind of head coaches who are experienced coaches, and also 10 assistant coaches who can learn the ropes, if you like. So again, they might be the mums of the girls who are attending, or the aunties, they might be older sisters, they might be 16, 17, 18-year-old school kids who are kind of figuring out their next career path. They might be local athletes who've never kind of taken that step into coaching. So again, we're trying to do both things at the same time in these play centres. And again, the way that we're supporting the assistant coaches is through obviously education, but also mentoring on the ground through the organisations and through the head coaches who are there with them. So that's a little bit about iCoach Girls and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it.
All right, I have an obvious question that I know everyone is asking themselves right now. You said you are currently implementing in Europe, and when are you going to cascade that to other regions of the world? Because it sounds like a good resource for everyone to use.
Yeah, so at the minute it's a 3-year program, ending in just over about a year's time. So it ends in, the funding that we've got for this kind of block ends in June, July 2025. I think I've got my dates right. And what we're aiming to do from then is although it's a 3-year program, we've said all along we see this as a pilot. So what we want to do is take the learnings from this program and again then explore other ways of getting this on the ground. So it will definitely cascade more broadly than Europe, but I think in terms of obviously our pilot, if you like, we're running it in Europe for now. But yeah, all I'd say there is watch this space. And again, if people do want to reach out and speak about some of the things that we've learned or some of the key messages that we've taken away, if this is kind of an ethos that you want to try in your location, then there'll be lots of learnings and recommendations coming out. And yeah, hopefully then more cascading of resource to kind of support other people to do this as well. But yeah, watch this space, I'd say.
Yeah, I think also the very important thing is that it's not only about sport, but also about getting girls being physically active and also improving on physical activity that is out there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Marielle, what are you doing as WomenWin to support programs or interventions, or to focus on what you are doing in terms of focusing on retaining more girls or even recruiting girls to sport?
Yeah, thanks. So when we think about sports programs that are focused on participation and retention on the pitch, when we take a sort of multi-pronged holistic approach at 3 different levels. So we see it as, like I said, on the pitch. So this is really specific to the experience of players. What does the recruitment look like? What's the quality of their participation and their experience they have on the pitch? And this ranges from the curriculum quality, the facilities that they have, the equipment and apparel, and how is the community engaged. We then also look at the sidelines. So this is specific to more the coaching level and capacity development training for coaches. So leadership opportunities, what leadership opportunities are there for coaches? Are there women coaches? Are there pathways for women coaches to be leaders? Is there funding and resources for coaching? And then at the organizational level, we really see a big role for the organization for sustainable change to get girls and young women onto the pitch and retain them there. And so that really has to do with changing processes and developing strategies at the organizational level. And so that includes gender policies, That includes, training of personnel and key decision makers, and then looking at the culture and mindset of an organization. This could be a federation, a sports development organization, a local community organization. How are they allocating resources? What is the communication and mindset of the staff? And at WomenWin, we really think that it should be said, maybe it's obvious, but it's important to ensure that this work is funded. So to make these changes and investments, it requires adequate resources, particularly in the startup phase of any of this work. And we try to make sure that organizations not only have the tools and knowledge to take on these transformations and adjustments, but also additional funding. Some examples of this work that we have right now ongoing is Made to Play and also in Breaking Barriers. And both of those are sort of learning journeys within a cohort of organizations that are learning from each other. They create a gender action plan, and then they receive funding to develop and implement those, which ensures that action is taken to the point that was made before, to really ensure that action is taken.
Yeah, I've seen some comments saying, how do you get access to resources? And I think after what you said today, you're gonna get a lot of people trying to understand how they get, because I already know that there's a call for application for WomenWin that is making rounds, and I think if you're able to share it on the chat, it's an opportunity for you to get more people to apply for it. And Lisa, I've seen some questions for you on the chat as well. Please, you can attend to it. And Marielle, before I move forward from you, Lisa already mentioned one issue as in terms of menstrual health for young girls as a challenge. What are the other challenges that are there to preventing the efforts that are happening around achieving our full impact in terms of retaining and recruiting girls in sport? There are so many numerous interventions aiming at increasing girls' participation in sport. There are so many organizations doing the work, but we still believe that there's a lot of work that needs to happen. So what are those challenges that are really a stumbling block in us achieving our full impact?
Yeah, I think it's sort of one of the sort of foundational ethos at WomenWin is that the barriers that girls face on the pitch and getting to the pitch are those that are mirrored in society. So sometimes the challenges can feel quite large and extensive, but I think we've done some research recently that I'd like to share some of our findings that I think group those and have some themes. So the first theme that we've really seen is sort of persisting gender stereotypes that impact a girl throughout her life. So girls are heavily influenced by their parents and peers and those they see online, in the media and online. So parents, as we know, can serve as key enablers, but also key inhibitors for girls in sport. And when it's difficult to get parental buy-in, it's hard to get the funds for them to play or to ensure they can get to the pitch. They're also greatly impacted by negative feedback from peers, especially teasing and judgment, for example, in schools. And they're less willing to play sport if they feel they're not good enough to play in front of others. And then this is also related to, we see the gender stereotypes is really related to the visibility of women's sport, which remains very low. And I'm based in the Netherlands, and recent EU estimates are that only 15% of sport coverage is given to women's sport. So girls don't have role models. Like if they can't see it, they can't be it. So that's one main sort of overarching theme. I think another one we see is that there are fewer resources. So back to the resources conversation, but that is in their lived experience. So we talked about mobility. So long rides on public transportation, particularly at night, can be dangerous or might not be possible if their parents are unsupportive or unable to accompany them. And then when girls do have the ability to play, when they are able to reach the pitch, there are resource restrictions related to the quality of their equipment, the changing rooms that are not women only, the fewer sponsors for women's teams. So we really see that as a restriction throughout sort of the scaffolding of a girl's life, a lived experience. And then I think there's, and I know we're going to talk about this today, but is really that lack of gender-informed coaching. So coaches are a big influence on girls' interest, but coaching is still dominated by men. So again, in Europe, this is a statistic, but less than 30% of coaches in Europe are women. And it's not whether you're a man coach or a woman coach, because I think it's the coaching pedagogy is still outdated. And women's and girls' bodies are different than men's. I think at a global level, and so some of our findings are more European specific, but you see a lot of those themes across the board. So, you know, those cultural gender norms, and especially in more recent years, a shift to conservative values in many parts of the world, impacting girls and their participation in sport. We see poverty, so, you know, girls being the first one to pull out of schools or other activities due to lack of money or increased domestic responsibilities, safety. We talked about transportation to and from venues, and then lack of safety at those venues, and or abuse and harassment in sports programs. And then, you know, sexual reproductive health. So lack of access to information, as you mentioned, related to menstruation, and then sexual reproductive health. So we see that these, again, there are mirrors in a girl's day-to-day life and what she might experience on the pitch. And yeah, when we really think about that sort of gender justice approach, that if we can't think about that broad experience, that daily life, then we're not going to be able to even get her to the pitch, get her to the court, wherever she may be trying to go.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And then Lisa, I think we can continue from what Marielle said in terms of what role do coaches play in overcoming these challenges to ensure that girls are retained in sport, and how they contribute to recruiting models of sports. What role do coaches play, or what role do you think coaches should play that are probably not doing, but they should be doing?
Yes, I think well, coaches can be a role model. I agree with Marielle that we need to increase the number of women coaches. I think there are here in Latin America as well, the participation and the representation of women as coaches is very low. I think it's part of the stereotypes we still have to change, not only for girls, but also to creating role models. The coaches are the female coaches, I have to say, are a fundamental part of the creation of a safe space for girls. I think I saw one of the questions about menstruation, for example. The girls don't feel like they can discuss this stuff with male coaches. I think, yeah, it's part of the problem. And I think also we need female coaches, but still we have to work with the training of the coaches. We still have to train them and to create this base of female coaches that can address the barriers that girls face to participate in sports. It's not only the fact that being a woman, to understand the body or to understand the experience that girls can face on their lives, but also to really understand the barriers they have. And this is not a guarantee. To being a woman is not a guarantee to understand the barriers. I think, yeah, in certain way you can understand that you have domestic responsibilities, but not always. The weight of the domestic responsibilities in low-income families is very high for the girls, and this is a real barrier. And yeah, how can we address that stuff, you know, by creating different schedules for girls that have caregiving responsibilities, for example, is a choice. I mean, this is I think we need to understand that coaches can have a great responsibility, but still we need to create this environment for them also to include to include the gender perspective in their interventions as well.
Yeah. And I think from policy perspective, I know that you are based in Argentina, but as UN Women, you are able to actually influence the bigger picture in terms of policy and in terms of creation of role models. I think we can learn a lot from you to create more coaches, because sometimes women are there as athletes, but the challenge is how do we now keep them in sport from being active athletes to become coaches, to become administrators, so that we don't lose a lot of them in the process. So that is also something that we need. I see that some comments here saying that we definitely really need to create more role models by having more female coaches. But also it's very important to teach the current male coaches on safeguarding and also on menstrual issues, because girls may not necessarily be open to discussing coaches, but coaches should also learn how to talk to girls so that they can be able to open up to them. So it's also a two-way thing. Ruth,
totally.
Ruth, to you, what do you think what do you think is the role that coaches should play in overcoming these challenges?
Yeah, I might sound like a bit of a broken record here, because I absolutely agree with what Lisa and Marielle are saying. I think the key thing that coaches can do, I think, the question might originally been phrased as like recruiting girls, but I think the key thing that coaches can do is keep kids in sport. So once they do get to you, what are your practices like to make sure that they stay? So we know that there's a huge issue, again, and a lot of my kind of facts and figures are very Europe centric, but I think it's similar kind of globally. We have a huge issue with dropout of sport, and again, a lot of the reasons for that are sometimes it is direct in terms of, well, I don't really like the coach, but sometimes it might be a bit more indirect, like, okay, the session maybe isn't fun, or it's not meeting my needs, or this, that, and the other. And again, we've done a lot of research into that previously, and I think the coach can have a massive impact in those sorts of things. The thing that I would say is the key thing, I think, for coaches is about understanding your participants. And again, when we're talking about coaching children and coaching girls, is having a child-centric view and delivery style. So again, we at iCoachKids, we have a saying that we say a lot, that kids are not mini adults. You can't coach a 7-year-old the same way that I would coach a 27-year-old and just put it on a smaller pitch. That's not good coaching. And I think there's then more layers to that when you consider, okay, the differences between boys and girls, and not just the differences between boys and girls, but actually some girls love the competitive stuff, like Marielle said earlier on, and some girls really don't, which is who we're targeting for iCoach Girls. So I think it's really about the role of coaches to understand your participants, understand who you're coaching, and to adapt your practice to the girls in front of you, and not expect them to adapt to your practice, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's probably a lot of educational work to be done with coaches, both male and female coaches, about how to understand your participants, how to use the voice of the child to really support you in your practice, to keep them in sport and keep them in physical activity, and ignite that passion for a lifelong love of activity and movement and sport and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but I think because in the interest of time, I have one closing question in 30 minutes for all of you to, from your point of view, what is that drastic action that we need to take in order to make sure that we have a long-lasting change to happen in terms of retaining girls? I like what you, Lisa and Ruth said in terms of maybe coaches can be more focused on retaining girls, and then there's this gap where someone needs to recruit them, then coaches retain them at the end of the day. But what is that drastic measure that we need to take to make sure that we have this long-lasting change in terms of retaining girls in sport? 30 seconds, please.
Me first.
Yeah.
No pressure. I would say, I mean, if we're talking really drastic, I'd love to click my fingers and like change societal views on gender, but that's probably not very realistic. So the drastic thing that I would think is about getting more women in coaching. I think that's really powerful. If we normalize women in coaching and women in leadership roles in sport, I think that has a massive impact, both up in terms of the societal expectations of women, but also down in terms of women. I think, Marielle, you mentioned this earlier on, if you can see it, you can be it. Things like that. So again, I think the drastic things that need to change are organizational practices around hiring practices, around working hours, around gendered language, around the pay gap. If we can get more women in coaching, I think that is a golden ticket to change practice for the better for girls in sport, and for broader what we think about women in sport.
Okay, thank you. Marielle?
Yeah, I think for us at WomenWin, again, it's sort of that rights-based approach when you're thinking about getting girls to the pitch and to the court and keeping them there and understanding the inhibitors and enablers that bring them there. And, you know, if we're not thinking about gender-based violence in their home, if we're not thinking about sexual reproductive health, knowledge and rights, that they won't even be able to get there. So I think it really goes hand in hand to when we take this approach that we're, you know, then we're impacting the community level. So it goes hand in hand with influencing and breaking those stereotypes and gatekeepers in the community. And maybe you might be reaching one girl, but that girl becomes a role model for, we really see those multiplier effects. So yeah, I think it's that broader look.
All right, thank you, Lisa.
Yes, just to don't repeat my colleagues. Yeah, but very important thing that Marielle have raised is we need more investment. The resources are crucial, and also a more equal participation of women at the governing bodies of sport. We need more women in the decision-making process, and on leaderships, and yeah, I think this is the crucial things we need to change. Not only more athletes, not only more girls on the base, but also on the top.
Thank you so much. We would like to have you around and participate and go on the chat, respond to comments and answers there, and also be with us in the whole session. Thank you so much. I'll just go into the next session where we get stories from people who are on the field. One, we have someone from the WASBO pathway implementation. She's called Kgathi from Botswana. Gorata is one of the trainers on the Tafisa Nike pathway that we created to create a safe and positive experience for girls in sport. It's currently implemented in 24 countries around the globe, and it's mainly a framework of different toolkits. One, we have body confidence in there. Two, we have coaching here modules, and also we have safeguarding modules in the pathway that we created, and as well as made to play. So that is currently what we are working on at Tafisa, and we have Gorata as one of the trainers who's working with the coaches. Their role is to train coaches in different countries to implement the pathway, where they'll be able to work with the coaches to create those safe environments for girls to be in the sport. And also, one of the modules is about menstrual health, for coaches to understand the discussion around discussing mental health with young girls. And also another module is about hate speech, so that coaches can be able to flag hate speech that is happening in sport. So I will invite Gorata to join the discussion and share her experience from the field as someone from rugby and also someone from the pathway training, to introduce herself in the next minute. And also I will invite Samantha from the pathway coach experience as well. She's from St. Vincent. She has gone through the training of the pathway as well, and she's going to share her experience in terms of what has the training done for her as a coach, and what is she going to do going forward, and what are the challenges that she's facing as she implements the pathway and in her coaching experience. Gorata, to you. Please introduce yourself and get on to your story.
Yes, hi everyone. In respect to all the different time zones that we have, my name is Gorata from Botswana. I am a rugby coach and a coach educator. I do a lot of work in training and education in our sport. And currently I'm a trainer from the Women in Sports Botswana organization, which was the host organization for the Tafisa Nike safe and positive coaching pathway for young girls. I'll start with the delivery and the content. We had the coaching her, the coaching girls guide, and the body confidence, as well as safeguarding and hate speech, including the menstrual health as well. So what we did was throughout May, several weeks of May, we delivered the course online, rather the workshops online, and the coaches were really receptive to all of that, showing that most of the information, they were receiving it for the first time. They were learning new material, and they met it with a lot of enthusiasm and keenness and interest to learn more. And later on, we had a physical workshop on safeguarding menstrual health and combating hate speech. And I remember in the workshop that we held physically, we finished because coaches had so much to say concerning the safeguarding issues. And another thing that I wanted to speak on was that as for the trainers, for us trainers, there's 4 of us in Botswana currently, and we come from diverse backgrounds. Myself from rugby as a trainee and education personnel, and someone else from football and tennis, also doing training and education, and someone from the Paralympics, which also speaks to the element of inclusivity, which is really important when it comes to looking after young girls and ensuring that they've got a conducive environment to reach their best in sport. And also in terms of our audience, we had coaches from all around the region, and it was coaches the disabled, youth groups, age categories, and we even had, one time we even had, for the physical course, we had the workshop, we had the School of the Blind, which was also brilliant for us because we're being inclusive in that regard. This pathway, the Nike and Tafisa pathway, is really important, especially in the context of Botswana, where we have low numbers of girls participating in sport. And also, if we have girls in sport, they just tend not to stay longer than their male counterparts. I wanted to say also that the pathway has got a lot of resources and materials that our coaches are able to use to refer to. There are a lot of case studies, statistics that they can use, and then there are also some reflections in the toolkit. Two of them that I remember that I wanted to give all of the coaches listening here today is, number one, you must think about why you coach. I think it also speaks to your coaching philosophy. As you coach young girls, ultimately what it is that you want to achieve from all of that, what it is that you want to do for the girls that are participating in sport, ensuring that they benefit from participating in sport. That's number one. Why do you coach? Then the second one would be, as a coach, what role have you played to ensure that you have bettered or improved a young girl's life, or made an impact in their life, both on and off the field? And then when we're delivering the pathway, there were some of the things that were just immediate impact. You could see that it has raised a lot of awareness for the coaches. They talked about how some of the things are cost effective, like you don't even have to spend money to make sure that you play a role in terms of making sure that you can recruit young girls and keep them in sport. Such things as a coach, in your training session or at a half break at games, where you want to stand when you're speaking to girls, you need to be standing in a place that allows you to see everyone, to see each one of your players. In that way, no one is hiding behind the other. As well, you call them by their names, and that makes them feel appreciated. Beyond this, you could also have situations where you give your young girls opportunity to make mistakes and to learn from their mistakes. So then, we kept having conversations about how sometimes it's not always about, big things that requires you to spend money on. You can find ways to ensure that you keep your girls interested in the sport. And then one other thing that really came out from the coaches was issues of safeguarding. They talked about how in their organizations, either they would not have the policy, or that if it is there, it's not functional, or it is, communication channels are not clear. and stakeholders are not aware of what is going on in that regard. And they, they were trying to come up with solutions. And because there are examples of policies and code of conducts provided in the pathway, they were really excited to, to go look into all of that to see how they can help their organizations work on those policies to ensure that young girls feel protected and safe to reach their maximum potential and also just benefit from participating in the sport. Right now, where we are is with the pathway for the last 2.5 months. We are, as trainers, we are visiting, we're visiting the coaches we're in the implementation phase. We're visiting coaches to see how they're implementing all of their learnings from the workshop into their practices. And, it's really brilliant to see how they are putting all of that into practice, ensuring that, they're also contributing to trying in efforts rather to keep young girls in sports and having them to benefit from participating in sports. So it's the pathway definitely has a great impact. It is very much needed. And we're very thankful for all of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gorata. One of the feedback that I got from one of the coaches that trained through the pathway from Trinidad and Tobago, he is a male coach. He was saying that he's a male coach. He was saying that he was actually not confident in coaching girls. He was not coaching girls at all because he was afraid to coach girls because he knows that girls have a lot of issues. But after the pathway, now he's really confident that he'll go back and coach girls because he feels like he has a lot of information. To you, Samantha, would you want to share with us your coaching experience, especially after the implementation of the pathway, before and after? What do you think is different, and how are you going to approach coaching in terms of retaining girls in sports? Samantha?
Yes, hello, good morning.
Yes, your camera is off.
Yes, it's on.
Thank you, yes.
Oh, I'm sitting in a big place, construction and everything in the morning.
No problem.
So after before the training, there are certain things that I knew about. For example,
Samantha, please introduce yourself and then so that we know you. Well,
pardon me?
I say introduce yourself first. Introduce yourself. Do you hear me?
No. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, it's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was saying before the training, I had, of course, gone through some coaching education. But what this training has done for me is that it reinforced a lot of things that I knew before, and it also encouraged me to try new things. Because like everyone who has been saying is that, retaining girls is a problem. But having implemented some of the things that I learned, like what the previous speaker spoke about, circling up, speak to them when you're in a circle so that everybody feel that they're a part and that they're important and that they are being paid attention to. That has worked very well for me. People start being more confident, they start sharing more, and they start believing in what they're saying because I give them opportunities, to be okay. It's okay if they fail. As a matter of fact, I have developed an acronym for failure, and it is, in our group, we know that failure means first attempt in learning, ultimately recognizing effort. So that has really worked. So people are not afraid to make mistakes. Whenever there are mistakes, we use that mistake as a learning opportunity rather than failure in your attempt. So those are some of the things that I have been using a lot, and also coaching girls as individuals rather than, referring to them as or using someone to encourage them. For example, stop comparing girls with others because everybody different. Another important thing that I learned is the body talk. Now, we don't body shame. We make the girls feel that, hey, each of our bodies have a particular function. And it doesn't matter the size of the body, that body has a function to perform, and we highlight the functionality of the body rather than the looks. So that has worked very well for us. Additionally, we encourage feedback. We encourage persons to speak about what is bothering them. We encourage people to talk about what they like and what they don't like, and see how we can implement changes to meet our group. And also showing them that you care outside of the court. A lot of time we want our athletes to be good athletes, and if they're not good, we dismiss them or we don't pay a lot of attention to them. But everyone doesn't come to a training session or participate in sport because they want to become Olympians. Some people just want the social aspect of it, and we recognize that, and we encourage them to have a body system where their bodies will encourage them to, continue to come, participate, be involved in the training session. We find out about their special occasions, their birthdays, anything new that has happened to them, they can share when they come to the group. We also encourage, whenever they're sharing something, that we must applaud them for being brave enough to share, because like someone said before, they are very shy coming to a new environment, especially when their friends from school are not there. So we encourage them to feel at home, create that positive environment where they feel that they are important and they are valued. So those are some of the things that I learned in the session, and they have been working for me very well. Another thing is, when you're speaking to them, do not refer to them, especially if they are in a mixed group, male and female. You do not speak to them and call them guys, because you find that once you mention the word guys, the girls just automatically go in the back. They don't put their hands up. They don't answer any question because they think you are speaking to the boys. So finding out their names, learning their names. Of course, if you see me for the first time, and I tell you my name, and during conversation, you repeat my name, it tells me that, oh, this person was listening to me. They know my name, and it encourages me. So I use that same method and that same approach in recruiting and retaining girls. As it relates to the recruitment part of it, we make sure that the parents are involved. If the parents are involved, they know where the children are, they know what time the children left the session, they know what time the children are supposed to reach home. They feel a sense of comfort and security about their kids leaving home. We also encourage the community, find out what is happening in the community, be a part of it. Do we go to the community once a week so that girls know that on a Wednesday, there are activities going on at the court, so they can become part of it and get involved. So I have taken a multidimensional view and approach from what I learned from the program, and it has helped me significantly.
Thank you so much, Samantha. That is so brilliant, and it also gives us Tafis and also Nike that affirmative. We are happy that something is really coming out of the pathway that we created, and I can assure you that we are going to continue implementing the pathway. I'll request some of our members to share the link to our pathway web page so that people can get information from the pathway and any other information that we may share for the pathway, so that all of you can have access to it. Someone was asking, is the pathway implemented in South Africa? We currently don't have any implementation going in South Africa, but please feel free to go through the pathway and then reach out to us, and then we can always talk to you and share the information with you so that you can be able to even implement in your own organizations. What also that, okay, you wanted to say something?
Sorry, if you can also allow me to mention one thing. Okay. I know from time to time people use, they're technologically the technological advancement that we're faced with now, which is a good thing. I know sometimes coaches want to take away this from their athletes, but what I have found is that I've used the technology to benefit them. So rather than taking away their phones and putting away your phone, I created group chat so they can communicate with each other. They can research stuff on their phone. I even ask them sometime in training, because I know their phone is right next to their bag, right? I say, pull out your phone and research something as it relates to the sport that we playing. And they have been using their phones more positively now than just looking to check their phone. So we can use the phone to remind them of training, to update them on training, to update them on things that are happening going forward. So we can use the phone rather than trying to take it away from them.
Thank you so much for that. Digitization is also very important. We shouldn't look like we shy away from it because of our generation. So we need to make sure that we bring both together. Thank you, Samantha, and thank you, Gorata. And it was a brilliant time to share with you. It's never enough time to discuss such a very important topic, but we always believe that creating these opportunities to discuss, to talk about this more and more over and over, we get to learn from one another, we get to network with one another, we get to learn the best practices out there, the policies that are out there, and the work that is done by WomenWin, that is done by iCoachKids, that is done by UN Women. It's also very important for us to tap into that and see how we can connect with them. So we would now go to the next interactive break, where we go into the Mentimeter. Please pull out your phones, like Samantha said, and let's go back to answer a few questions. Okay, tell us one action your organization takes to support coaching girls. One action that your organization is taking to supporting girls, coaching girls, sorry. And then there's a link. If you haven't seen the link is already shared in the chat again for you to access. One action that organization is taking to support coaching girls. You are training female coaches. You focus on gender-sensitive coaching techniques. You are attending women girls only sessions. Fem coach project, encouraging them, give them access to formations. Provide sports activities in schools which have a lower threshold for girls. Not downplaying their emotions. We pay them for good. We offer soft skills to them. Run programs to train coaches. We build trust, we share knowledge with municipalities how to include girls in sport, allocate minimum resources to promote women sport. Why don't we allocate maximum resources, but it's good anyway. Trying to get more female involved in leadership roles, taking a multi-sport approach to expose them, train coaches, access to their talent, be seen, promoting empathy, positivity, training female coaches and empowering them, empowering environment and encouraging them. Yeah. Girls as trainers and role models, providing gender-based resources to support, workshops on women's sport, organizing workshops for women, for coaches, training and certification for female coaches, listening to what they have to say. Yes, we talked about giving them the voice earlier. Employee and training female coaches, have all women coaches to train the girls and encourage women and girls-led programs, providing them with leadership opportunities to make them realize their potential. Thank you so much. Keep all those answers coming, and also make sure that we continue the discussion on the chat. Next question, please. What motivates girls to stay in sports programs in your experience? What motivates girls to stay in your sports programs in your experience? They have sense of belonging, the sponsorship, interesting. Community, feeling part of something, yes. PS, okay, have a coach that is caring, having fun, enjoyment, having female taking part as well. Fun and inclusion, career, national team salaries, having fun, friends, social competition, trust, friendship, yes, the positive and inclusive attitude to the coach, safe space, feeling secured, friends also participating in sport, opportunity for employment, safe environment, when they are given opportunities, recognizing achievements, exposure to new opportunities, sense of belonging, being recognized and finding safe spaces to talk, fellowship, good relations with coaches, comradeship, safe and fun environment with family support, provide them with adequate facility, positive relationship, feeling involved and useful, and also feeling involved and respected. Thank you so much for the answers. And then the last question, but keep on answering like I said. What is the biggest barrier preventing women from becoming community sport coaches? Is it lack of women role models? Is it fear of standing out? Is it gender bias and discrimination? Is it limited access to training, cultural norms and expectation, lack of awareness, inadequate support, and network environment? Interesting, we have gender bias and discrimination as the main barrier, but all of them are indeed barriers to this of women from becoming community sports coaches. Yeah. Okay, lack of their own youth exposure in sport. Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. All right, thank you so much for that. I have one question to everyone, all the panelists, everyone, including the participants. Who is that coach who has had an impact in your life to remain in sport or to play sport or to have passion for sport or to have the love for sport? Who is that coach and what did he do or what did she do? Please let's have those answers on the chart. Who is that coach? We can name the coach and also share what that coach did in order for us to remain in sport and also to have passion for sport, to work for sport, and also to continue playing sport. What did that coach do or say to you to play sport? For you, it's your parents being active and playing sports. Okay, your father played a major role in you to remain in sport. Mr. Prakash, we thank them. Oh, sorry about that. Your mother, okay. Your father, Antonella Passin, a great motivator just by her beautiful presence. Okay, interesting. She was not only my coach, but also my best friend, my therapist, and she was beside me in every situation. My dad was my coach, biggest support. Interesting. So family support is also good. My sports teacher who motivated me, Mr. Mugoni, my father. For me, it wasn't the coach, it was my mother. And my mother, all of my coaches, my father and sports coach. The coach had a good rapport with my parents. Interesting. My coach, okay. Casey Roberts, my coach, my elementary school teacher, my program, and my fellow coaches, my handball coach. He said I was short, but I never dropped. Trust me, I have this short thing also happening to me. Don't worry. My dad is my netball coach. My late dad, a volunteer coach. Yeah, Subo, I remember that one. My dad introduced me to rock climbing on a 7. I've been climbing ever since. Oh, great. Only recently did I consider coaching. Everybody but my professional sports teachers. Interesting feedback. Thank you so much. This is good to share. Let's continue sharing. Otherwise, we have come to the end of our session today. We are happy to have you here. It was a good time to spend with you. We will share with you the link of this webinar and also the link to any other information that you may require. Also look out for the funding proposal from WomenWin. It was also shared on the chat. Thank you, Gorata. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Marielle, and thank you, Tafisa staff for this webinar, and thank you to all the participants here. We hope to see you in the next webinar, possibly by December. We'll keep you informed. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, have a good afternoon, and have a good morning. Bye-bye.